It's FA Cup final day, and Sheffield Wednesday are playing Arsenal. The whole of Sheffield is watching the game, and the Children's Hospital has come to a virtual standstill.
With passion and observed with dignity. And if you saw...
Jonathan Archer and his family are back in hospital. He began treatment for his club foot 4 months ago. Now, just 2 weeks before the frame reshaping his foot was due to come off, Jonathan has broken the very leg that has undergone so much surgery. It requires emergency attention.
I went into Burger King for lunch, and I'd just been given my crutches the week before, and I was just getting from my seat to the stairs, and Dad was going to carry me down. They mopped the floor before. The floor didn't look shiny, and there's only a cone there, and I didn't notice the cone. And the crutch just gave way, and my leg went underneath me and just crashed down on my leg. So in the middle of Burger King, complete silence. I'm the only one who's making any noise. They gave us some cotton buds to clean up the blood, because top 3 pins where it's broken, those pins were bleeding, and there's blood all down my left side of my leg.
I'd gone into the loo at the time. Then I heard this screaming. I could hear mum, mum. And I thought, it must be a child having a temper tantrum. And then my mother-in-law appeared at the door. And as soon as I saw her face, you know, I knew something awful had happened. And poor people had come in for their lunches, sitting there. Dreadful. It was awful.
Are we going to see Waddle at his brilliant best? Karen Barrett looks to his watch and his whistle, and away we go. Arsenal in the red, Sheffield Wednesday in stripes. Warhurst gets a header in. Paul Davis coming forward early on. Viv Anderson trying to spray it out to Mark Bright on the far side. Takes on Linnigan, who fouls him. Sheffield Wednesday take it quickly.
Hospital regular and Sheffield Wednesday fan Lisa Flinders is back in on her team's big day.
Well, they're not going to score this time, are they? No, obviously not.
Now, corner the other side. Nigel Worthington to take it. This is quite a good little spell by Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah! Oh!
Okay, just a tiny little scratch. Okay, well done.
This is the 3rd time Judy and her son Jonathan have been in this situation in almost as many months. In the accident, Jonathan's leg fractured at the point where one of 7 wires has been drilled through his bone. Now the whole contraption must come off early and be replaced by a plaster cast.
David Hurst equalises for Sheffield Wednesday. Trevor Francis's team right back in it. And it was a goal that had looked like coming since half-time. 62 minutes, David Hurst. John Sheridan plants the ball in.
Francis Hyde's carry. We've got a little girl called Rebecca Vickers, who's 10, who has diabetes, referred by her GP. Yeah. No, we don't know. She's actually just gone to the lab to have a finger prick, but the GP did a blood sugar and it was 35.
10-year-old Becky and her mum first knew something was wrong when she developed a raging thirst. It didn't seem very serious to them, but the GP sent Becky straight in.
Being told that she has diabetes obviously is a big shock to the system. I mean, I don't know whether you suspected that there was something more going on than just drinking a lot, or whether or not this has been a complete bolt
We've been a bit
from the
worried
blue.
about the drinking. We've been looking at it for a couple of weeks, and we thought it was a good idea to get it tested.
Right. And did you, presumably you already know what diabetes is and what it means? Do
I
you
don't think
understand
Becky
what it
did.
means?
She'd not come across it before, had you? No.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's nothing you've done. It's not because you've been trying to lose weight or because you've been eating sweeties or because you should have looked both ways before you crossed the road or anything like that. It's just something that happens to some people. Yeah. We don't know why it happens exactly. There's a lot of research going on, but we don't know exactly why it happens. And what happens, Becky, is that your pancreas, which is a gland that lies tucked underneath your stomach, inside your tummy, doesn't work very well.
Down in theatre, Jonathan's frame is being removed.
I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I didn't envisage the things that have gone wrong. The pain level that he's had to withstand for a long period of time has been an unexpected thing, and the things that have gone wrong have made it a very long process.
In the long term, it's very important that we get the blood sugar right, because having a high blood sugar over a long time, like a number of years, is very bad for all sorts of bits of you, particularly the small blood vessels that can affect the eyes and the kidneys and the ends of your fingers and toes, the circulation in those bits. So it's important. It seems a long way off, but if you've had diabetes for 20 years, your chance of having problems is a lot higher than, obviously, if you've only had your diabetes for a year. So it's important that we start right from the beginning to get things sorted out. Unfortunately, Becky, the only way to treat diabetes, the sort of diabetes you have, is by insulin, and the only way you can give insulin is by injections. Okay, so that's the relatively bad news. The good news is that with the injections, you can lead a normal life like you have been doing. Okay, so what it means for you in the short term is learning with mummy how to drop the insulin from a little bottle into a syringe, and how to give the injection of insulin into either the top of your leg or the top of your arm, or sometimes we use the tummy. Okay, we'll learn to use one place first, and then we can use other sites. I mean, to begin with, obviously, mum is going to want to supervise things quite closely, because although it's a big shock to you, it's also a shock to mum. And that makes mum treat you a bit more like a baby than she has been doing just for the next few days. I suspect that's how you'll feel, a bit overprotective. But it doesn't stop you doing things. As long as you're sensible about it, you can still play football, you can still go swimming, you can still go out with your chums, as long as you remember that you need to eat at certain times, because your blood sugar needs to be controlled. And if you've had insulin in the morning, the effect of insulin is to bring the blood sugar down, and therefore you need to keep the food going in to balance that. Okay? All right, which is all a bit complicated, and we don't expect you to know it all today, or tomorrow, or the next day. All right?
Right. The fracture will have to be healed up within 6 to 8 weeks. Obviously, the foot is a severe deformity, as we've seen before, and it's now looking in a much better position. But I'm afraid time will tell, really, to see how that gets on. Right, can I have some more Velband?
Jonathan's already complex treatment has been further complicated by his fall. The broken bone must mend while the newly shaped foot is held in place by the plaster cast. Since the year began, senior managers at the hospital have been looking for financial savings. It's the domestic services manager who's been told to make the bulk of the cuts. Unless £100,000 or 20% of their budget is saved, the domestics have been warned the service will go out to competitive tender. The proposed solution is radical: an end to the 14-strong night shift, their redeployment, and a hefty cut in wages. Some have worked here for almost 20 years.
And then they get first pick of any vacancy that comes up.
But I mean, you're still asking them, even after a year, they're going to be dropping a hell of a lot of money, aren't they?
Yes, I appreciate that, but I'm just offering them a job. I'm not saying to them, bye-bye, I don't need you anymore. I'm not making them redundant or anything like that. What I'm saying is I'm offering them further employment.
I mean, I'm going to have to discuss it with them. I mean, there's a few things that I'm not happy with.
Well, I was given a job to do. And I've done it to the best of my ability, but hopefully to keep the standard of the service the same, but to make it so that the user gets the service when they want it. I've done what I was told to do.
From beginning, 18 years when I came, you could see it getting better, and it has got better over years.
Yeah.
But, as we say, it's going to go back down because they don't want the standards anymore.
I mean, our standard of working were top, weren't it, Kath? I mean, we're not bragging. It was the top. I mean, we have cleaned some muck up, haven't we? Definitely.
Right. It's first injection time. Now, I'll tell you, it scratches a little, but that's all, OK? How easily do these trousers come up? Very easily. But I know all you're thinking about at the moment is, oh, that looks a very big needle. Right. That's exactly the sort of syringe that she'll have at home, yeah.
It's a lot smaller than the one that Dr. Freudenstein had, isn't it?
Yes.
A little tiny.
They're not big and they're not blunt. And it's only a tiny little one. It's only 2 units. Right, whereas you'll be giving yourself more than that, so it'll actually look more than that when you give it yourself. Okay? Right, now then, I'm going to have it in this one, do you think? Right, you pull that up for me. You've got an audience as well, look at this lot. Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Right. How was that?
All right.
Not too bad, is it? No. Not as bad as you think, is it?
No.
Hello, Jonathan.
It's just down there, right at the back.
Thanks.
In recovery, as the effects of the anaesthetic wear off, Jonathan is slowly coming round to life without his frame. Only when the plaster is removed will he and his parents know just how successful the treatment has been.
Okay. Absolutely fine, no problems at all. Sickness, none. No pain, no sickness, no nothing.
Good.
Wonderful.
How are you doing?
I'll just shift that oxygen mask actually for a bit. He's been holding it himself, haven't you, Sunshine? It won't be all that long before we go back up to the ward anyway. He looks peaceful.
No frame. Can you believe it? So they'll be taking you up soon.
Your head. Oh.
Your head? Got a headache?
The proposal is that there will be 3 people on nights. One person will work Monday to Friday, and the others will go on a 4-on, 4-off rota, 1 per shift.
Sorry, Judith, one person can't work together. If one person has an accident, then that person...
They will not be working on their own.
I'm going to discuss it with you.
No way.
So what happens to the rest?
The rest are redeployed on the same money for a year and the same enhancements for a year.
To me, it stinks, Judith.
Pathetic. Pathetic.
We all don't live in a perfect world, I'm afraid, ladies.
Judith, we've been doing this for 11 years. We wouldn't do it for the fun of it. We've got commitments.
I appreciate that. You'll get protection.
I'm going to work 26 1/4 hours in during day.
The only thing I can say to you is that I will take individual cases.
A 55-year-old who's going to sit in a 55-year-old and against an 18-year-old. No way.
No way.
So you work your guts out for bloody 13 years. For what?
All I can say to you, the business of this hospital is to treat sick children to the best of their ability.
It's also to keep it clean as well.
I agree with you.
Well, how the hell are they going to do them stairs on the day? You tell me
They're not
that.
doing it on the days.
How can you do it in the evening then?
We'll be doing it
To call our job,
I just hope they fall flat on their faces and then come back to us and ask us to come back on.
I've put
we feel
my
like
side of the...
sacrificial lambs for economy.
Let's see what union's going to do for us then.
You've got to fight for us.
Right, ladies, if they treat us like this, down tools and out you go and let them come to a final decision. As you should, Stuart.
I have to say to you, Shirley, that if that's what you're thinking, I don't think it's the way at all.
Sorry, Judy, it's the way I feel. I'm thinking
I'm
my
not
members
saying it
here.
ain't the way you feel, but I definitely don't think that is a good decision at all.
I don't think your decision's very good either, Judith. I'm sorry.
We've only got 2 on now, it's not all. Do you realise 2 things? One is that your diabetes is forever and a day.
Yeah.
And if you're only, what, 10?
Yeah.
Oh, good heavens, that could be for the next 70 years then, couldn't it? So how do you feel if you've already had 1 injection by the nurses trying to draw up and perhaps give you a second one yourself? Or shall we make that a joint effort?
Yeah.
Right. There are certain things that you need to know. It's no good going and saying you want a bottle of cloudy insulin. You need to ask for it by name. And yours is called human monotard. And human doesn't mean that we go around raiding dead bodies. It merely means that its structure is very similar to the insulin that you use to produce yourself. Okay? Like a squash, tip it to mix it up.
Yeah.
So you've tipped your bottle, take the end off your syringe and put it straight through the rubber bung. It doesn't matter where. Tip your bottle upside down so that the needle is always covered with insulin, and then pull that white button down towards you. Have you seen them on Casualty and other medical programmes? They sit there and flick it.
Yeah.
Well, we don't faff around with that. Once you've got the insulin into the syringe, the next bit's getting it into you. With your left hand, you bunch up your skin. And what that does is that gets that blob of skin away from your muscle band, because the insulin only needs to go into the tissues. Right, are you ready then? So hold it at the bottom, straight through. You push the button down. And now straight out. Well done. Well done. Brilliant. That was splendid, and you've only got a little blob. The only time that you need to clean your skin surface if you decide to go rolling around football pitches. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, good heavens above. Are you sure your parents have got a daughter or a tomboy?
5-year-old Simon Butler has arrived on the same ward as Becky Vickers. Ill health has thrown a long shadow over his young life.
It's ripped there.
Don't matter.
Born with cystic fibrosis and a rare liver disease, Simon knows the Children's Hospital well. It's 11 weeks since he had a liver transplant. He's on high doses of a drug, cyclosporine, to suppress rejection of his new liver. He will probably need to take drugs for the rest of his life.
Which do you want now?
Car.
Car. The big one or the little one?
Little
one.
Van. Car.
There you are then. Which car's this one then? What car can it be?
Volvo.
A Volvo.
It's an estate like Daddy's.
An estate like Daddy's, oh, I see.
What's that car doing up?
Simon is still quite jaundiced, and staff are keeping an anxious eye on his progress to see whether or not his body is accepting the new organ.
He's having a ride.
He's having a ride. Okay, Simon, let's hear all about Simon since yesterday, please.
Simon's been well himself, and we've got the liver function results there, and they've actually improved from the previous sample.
Right. Okay. What has his weight done today, sister?
Gradually going down.
Right. Hardly any space left on your chest for listening, is
Play
there?
nuts and crosses, can't we? Now.
You know me, I do not bullshit you. We are not going to be able to maintain the whole of nights on nights as it was before. We're not going to be able to do it. They're always going to be saying to you at the end, if you don't do it, we're going to put it out to competitive tendering. You know, you've got to be prepared for that because they're going to say that.
They're not bothered about cleansing us.
The other problem is what's going to happen to your salaries after 12 months. Now, all right, 12 months flies. At the end of that 12 months, you will lose how much a week? How much is you?
£30.
About £30. Right.
About £60 now when it's
Yeah.
a good week.
Only
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday week.
I absolutely disgusted.
Sacrificed us.
I'm going to make an arrangement to see Judith and tell her, obviously, that we're not accepting it, and personnel. And then we'll have another meeting on the 18th, and we'll decide what we're going to do after I've reported back on that meeting.
The anxiety surrounding Simon continues. Test results suggest that the progress of his new liver is not as good as expected. And Simon isn't eating properly either.
He looks extremely well, apart from the elements, doesn't he? Full of beans,
full of
as he
beans,
says, full of energy. Unfortunately, that might not be quite how his liver's feeling. If we could have the biopsy today, we might see it's still looking rather sick, and as shown by these blood tests. So we've really got to get this right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Concerned about his nutritional status at all? And the lack of intake?
Well, I was asking about his weight, really, thinking about ascites, but tell me what's...
Well, I mean, his intake is very poor. He's just not eating very much at all. He's not having meals as such, and he's just picking, and it wouldn't feed a sparrow, really.
Right.
He's never really been a big eater anyway, but we know him being a CF that he's got to eat more to digest it. His favourite seems to be potted meat sandwich, so I've been to get him one from downstairs. This sold out. So he weren't very happy.
Right, let him have kilograms of potted meat sandwiches.
Said I'll get him some tomorrow.
Obviously, the things he likes, let him have in large amounts.
Yeah.
Though Simon is unaware of it, this is a critical time for him.
We're concerned that he is chronically rejecting the transplanted liver. If we see little further improvement, then I'm afraid he will need another liver biopsy just to assess exactly what the status of this liver is. And if that really does show well-established chronic rejection process, then he will need to be considered for further transplant.
There you go.
Gone through enough. Do you mind having one?
That's all done. Where'd you put him? Did you leave him dangling?
Dangles down.
On your trolley. No, you're not playing today.
He's been through a lot, hasn't he?
He's been through a great deal. He's a plucky little fella.
A lot of people, although they may well have suspected it, it's actually hearing the diagnosis. It's the finality of it. I think one of the most difficult things is that you have guilt feelings. Is it something that we should have picked up earlier? Why wasn't it me? And nothing can be changed. But the outlook really is good. It's very important to remember it's the same girl that you're taking home as you brought in. And life goes on, it's got to go on. And we really have to fit diabetes around what she wants to do. And I think it's very important that you don't try and take over and don't bombard her with, have you done this, have you done that, what have you eaten, what are you going to do? Because you're just going to drive a wedge between you. What you will do is get extremely worried. You're going to have times when all three of you are in tears. And I can understand why. Because we're not talking about the measles that's going to clear up in a fortnight. This goes on day in and day out. There is no end to it. But she can have a damn good life. And perhaps what's more reassuring is she can still be a grandmother. Because of all the things that we've cracked, it's diabetes and pregnancy. And that may seem totally immaterial at the moment, but it's something to hang on in there with.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Every week, more than 60 British youngsters will discover they, like Becky, have diabetes. Released from his frame, Jonathan is now getting around without a wheelchair for the first time in 6 months. The family have come in to witness the penultimate stage in this long, involved treatment.
Who's drawing on your car? Me and Adam. What is it? Just a few pictures. Thought it looked like an Indy car.
You like Indy car racing?
That's
Jonathan hasn't seen his foot without frame or plaster for nearly 6 months. It looks like the end just might be in sight.
Don't say oh. That's it. Right, cut this bit.
Ouch, 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 ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Mind your thumb. There, we should have one leg. There we are.
Feels weird. Feels like a lightweight. There's nothing on the end of it.
I feel like I'll never actually be the same again. Something sort of undescribable inside, really, to see Jonathan going through such pain at times and having to withstand things that I just couldn't help him with at all. I think that was the worst. I felt absolutely helpless to do anything to make it better. I think that was the worst.
Lovely. Scar's fading well. What we did was to apply the frame and stretch the heel downwards and at the same time try and straighten the foot out. To about an 80% satisfaction rate, I think that's what we've achieved. What impressed me today is that how nearly back to normal the foot looks after what was basically a very complicated operation. So I think Jonathan's done remarkably well. He seems more himself now than, obviously he was when the frame was on, which is understandable. And I would expect to see just steady progress from now. Because these operations are relatively new, I'm still sort of cautious and learning, if you like, and don't want to make any dramatic predictions in front of families. But I think you'll be pleased with the final result here. Making it a perfect foot was asking too much, but I think a good functional foot with a reasonable appearance is what we're going to end up with.
What concerns us most of all is that Jonathan is able to use his foot properly. Whether he ever plays for Leeds United or England is another matter. He might not think like this, but as long as he can have a good use as he grows into young manhood and adulthood, that's what concerns us most of all.
Are you going to play for Leeds United?
Probably the way they're going at the moment.
You could play for him now with one crutch, couldn't you?
Won't make any difference.
Kindness for you on arrival. Jonathan Archer, doing well. In swimming pool, taking weight directly over foot. Gradual improvement. Reluctant to weight bear without splint in place.
How does that feel now?
Feels okay. Bit weird.
Looks good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And my foot looks like it's about 5 sizes wider than it should be.